the Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Cherry Johnson with Watauga County Arts Council, and I hope you know that the Arts Council has a great facility, and in that facility we teach workshops and classes. And I have with me JoAnn Pippin, who has talked with us several times already, but she's here to talk about what we're offering in the spring series. And JoAnn gets to kick off the spring series. You're the first workshop.
Oh, good. Nice.
JoAnn is doing we're doing something a little bit different this time in an effort to try to determine what you want, in an effort to determine what time of day, what day of the week that you prefer in your schedule. We're offering many of our workshops twice, so that we can offer them in a weekday set timeline, so that those people who are available during the working hours, quote unquote, can hit that. But then we're also offering it at night or on the weekend as an option, so we can see where people are signing up and what works. Now, it's possible that if both of them fill up, then we'll obviously do both of them. If only one were to fill up and the other one had one or two people in it, we would see if they could possibly join the other group so that we could have a full group in that group. But it would give us some indication so that next time we'll know when to schedule things. So it's a learning process. JoAnn, before we get into what you're teaching, who's JoAnn? Tell me about JoAnn Pippin. You're an artist. When did you get into art?
I've been painting in watercolors for 20 years now. I knew I was about to retire, and we were living in Old Town Alexandria, Virginia. So I took classes at the Torpedo Factory Art School.
Oh, I want to go there.
For 5 years before I retired, and then I was kind of all set to get going. Since then, we've lived in various places, and I've always been involved in the arts councils or the arts group, New Hampshire, or I volunteer for the national parks, so I'm involved with the artist in residence programs at several parks where we volunteer, and also here in North Carolina, I'm on the board of the Watercolor Society of North Carolina with the Watauga Arts Council, of course, and then the local art group, the High Country Water Media Society. I find that this is a pretty active community, art-wise.
It is. And we're delighted that we have so many wonderful artists in our community. It just makes it so vibrant and so beautiful.
Yeah.
So many
well, it's an inspiring place.
It is.
So
it is.
No wonder.
For many, many years, when I've traveled for the Arts Council, people have said, "Oh, I know that area. You've got a lot of artists up there." You know. So it really is known as an artsy place. Now, you've also taught a good bit.
Yes, I am not the most accomplished artist. I have had some pieces accepted in national shows.
Good.
But really my idea is, I come from a teaching family, and so many people seem hesitant about getting into art. They want to, but they just don't know how to go about it. And so I just like to share what I've learned, and I've been to a lot of classes myself over the years. Where I paint regularly. I've experimented with a lot of different techniques, and it's just fun for me to share and help people solve their problems.
So that teaching gene has working on you.
I guess it did.
No, you're teaching 2 classes this spring with us. 2 times each, but basically 2 classes. And the first one is painting flowers in watercolor.
Yes, I chose that topic because there are a lot of techniques that I want to demonstrate. And flower painting, a lot of people want to know how to paint flowers. That's one of the first things that people seem to inspire people. But painting flowers, I can use almost all of these techniques that I want to work with.
In a single painting.
In a single painting. And so it's kind of using that kind of painting as an example. And then I can just talk about the papers, the paper that you need, the paints that you need, and then the different techniques can be used in different areas of the painting.
So by the time that you've done the entire painting, you've experimented with all the different techniques, and then you can carry that into other topics or subject matters if you choose to do that. Now, you've got some tricks to this whole situation. Let's talk about how you approach this topic.
Well, you know, because I want to demonstrate these techniques, we're giving this in 3 sessions,
yes, we are.
And perhaps we'll do it in 4 sessions in the future, because I want to take time each day to go through background material. We're going to be painting on a painting, but I'm going to feed some background into it each day. So like the first day we're going to talk about, I'm hoping people even won't come with, you know, gift sets of watercolors or, you know, this sort of thing. So we can talk about inexpensive ways that they can get the right paint, the right paper, that sort of thing.
Right, because if you go and just buy those kits or whatever, a lot of times it's not what you need and it's very expensive.
Yeah, and then on the second day, on the second session of the class, we're going to dive into, we've already talked about the basic colors that you need, and it's not like acrylics or you know, the hobby painting type of thing. You do not need a million different colors. I did this with 3 colors.
Wow, look at that, folks. 3 colors.
And so you can see that you can test it out inexpensively, but it's important to have good materials. When I was a kid, I tried to paint on cotton.
Oh, we all did.
It just puddled. It was terrible. So I want to be sure that people have a rewarding experience.
Yes.
So I guess you could say that one of my tricks is to make sure that people have the right things. So in the second session, we dive into colors and how to use colors effectively to complement each other to make the painting jump out at you. And we start making little puddles like this.
Yeah.
So if we were doing poppies, we might do a thing like this, or you know, if we were doing peonies, we might use this color scheme. But we start fooling with it, and it's fun because we puddle it and kind of hold the paper like this so it mixes together, and then you actually see
how the colors will interact.
Yeah. And then the triad of colors that we use, this is in that second session, we're going to paint this very texturized, colorful background instead of something flat. And also, let's see, I wanted to show, this is the way we start, because there are people that think they can't draw.
I know.
Now, I don't always agree with this.
I agree with you.
But another of my tricks is the way I go about painting a painting like that is I draw it first on a sheet of tracing paper. Darken it, and then believe it or not, you can hold it up to a window, your watercolor paper in front of it, and you can trace that drawing right onto your watercolor paper. And that way you have not destroyed the surface of the paper by erasing, reworking.
Right.
So this, as you can see, I don't know if I can hold this exactly right. Yeah, there it is. That was my drawing for that painting. So for those who are shy about drawing, if you do not want to bring a picture of your own, I can share pictures with you. Or say you wanted to use this picture, which is of a trillium, did a painting like this quite a while back of this picture, and I saved my drawing for that painting, so anybody will be welcome to
use your drawing.
Use this. I have another example here, which is Morning Glory.
Yeah.
So if you're shy about drawing,
skip that
then
step. You've already taken
you can
care of
skip
that.
that step. Or if you want to just dive into the painting really quick, this is a good way to do it. The painting that I intend to do in this session is single peony. And it's a very delicate white with these pretty spring green kinds of backgrounds. So we'll all have fun doing something like that. And so, as I said, once you transfer your drawing to this, then I'm not going to give away all my secrets, but then if you we start by wetting the background and really just dropping the colors in that we're going to use here.
So it will only go in those places.
And it won't go in the dry part of the paper, it will only go in the wet part.
That's cool.
And then you get a background that really coordinates with your flower.
Right.
Because it's really basically the same colors.
So you're not working the flower first and then trying to piece the background around it. You're going the other way around.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if you like a light background instead of a dark background, just little delicate drops.
And they'll bleed.
And they'll bleed on the light paper, and it will give you a much better background than just a plain white background. Much more interesting and vibrant in the end, even though it won't detract from the flower.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Watercolor, in my mind, I've painted in the past, and watercolor and acrylic and oil are so different. Watercolor is the toughest, in my opinion.
It is.
You know, it's because, and so these little tips like this, I'd never heard that one. You know, I think that's great. Little things that you can do that help you along, that make it less of a challenging medium, that make it easier to deal with,
I have painted in other ways, but I love watercolor. And I love it because it flows and it glows, and it's just worth learning.
Did you start with watercolor?
I started with oil paints.
Okay, I did too. That's the reason I asked that.
Yeah.
Because that oil is a totally different approach.
Oh, yeah. With watercolor, that's another thing that we learn in my class, is you have to preserve your whites or your places where you want. Whereas in oils, the last thing you put on is your light places. Yeah.
And so if you're used to thinking that direction, this is a different set.
And that may be one reason why I don't experiment with other mediums, because my brain
it works for you,
thinks that way instead of, and I don't want to confuse myself.
Let's just stick to what we know.
Or at least, So, but I know some things. People say you can't correct once you make a mistake in watercolor. I'm going to show people how to do that. I do know tricks there. And I also know there's various techniques you can do, with your brush, but there's also some very interesting non-brush techniques. And I'm going to do that in the class too. For instance, on this painting here, you can see these wonderful little stamens, and they really do something for the painting. They really emphasize the delicateness. Okay, well, believe it or not, those little stamens were made by the sharp corner of a cut-up credit card. So you've got this thin, little, very colorful line.
Forget the wobbly little thin brush.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah.
Because they used to drive me insane, that tiny little brush that just wants to turn.
It's a limp thing. Yeah.
I like this technique.
Firm, But it does, it will mix your colors for you.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting trick.
I'm going to have to haunt you this class and watch some of your techniques.
I had one more I have handouts, and those people who take the classes are going to get a handout on composition, color relationships.
So don't bother to take notes because you've taken them already. And
Yeah,
you're
you
gonna
can take
them home.
notes on my handouts if you want to. And, I'm going to, the shopping list.
Right.
And then I had one more thing that's, okay, so we were talking about the non-brush techniques. I've got a paper for both the brush techniques, which we're going to use in different parts of our flowers.
Right.
And we'll use some of the non-brush techniques. But here's a thing I always use in class. It shows, see, there's an example of the credit card one. This is, I taped off the trunks of the birch trees. So we're going to learn.
Oh, I've tried salt. That's fun.
Yeah, we're going to learn a batch of things that are going to make it not tedious.
Yes.
A lot easier than people think.
And a lot of fun things to experiment with.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's part of the class. And people, when I've taught this class, they come with their frustrations, they come with their questions, and we all have just a fun time discussing what the solution might be, tricks.
That's great.
So
that's great.
It's a good class.
That's good.
And it's fun to teach.
And you're only accepting up to, 10 students? No, it's not that.
Actually, there's a new room at the Arts Council.
Right.
And I think that room is going to be able to, 8 students, I think, would be
So it's a small group.
good. I mean, our what we're going to paint on and our paints and all this sort of thing takes a lot of layout room. And so it's wonderful to have, I could only have 4 at the most in the
old space.
smaller room. But this new space, I'm really excited about.
That's wonderful. And I think it's one of the best things we've done there is fixing that room like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure it has a lot of potential for not just watercolor.
Oh, everything. It's the busiest room in the building.
Yeah.
Now, that brings up something I want to emphasize to folks is that these classes are not 30 or 40 people where you're just basically given instructions and run on your own. This is a very intimate setting. Even with only 8 students,
Right.
that's still a very intimate group.
It is, yeah. And this this interfacing and inspiration that happens, that's why I like to have a small group, because that doesn't happen in larger groups.
Absolutely.
And I do give the class a couple of times a year, so
Yes.
it gives people who maybe had to opt out the first time another chance.
Right. And you and I were talking about you're going to do it this time in 3 sessions, and then probably in the summer we'll do a 4-session version.
Yeah. I had some feedback from another class, and they really would have liked to. The thing that was cut short was the kind of the show and tell at the and that's important. It's that whole thing is important.
That's great.
You don't really learn as well as you could if you don't have time to share with each other what you learned.
That's true. Now, do we want to say anything else about the painting, and then I want to move to the other workshop?
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a couple of reasons that flower painting is really interesting. You can, this is my original painting, and off that, this is going to segue to the other thing. Off that, I can make reproductions such as these. I can make cards. I always tell people that one reason for learning how to, if you're a gardener, you can make your own little garden journal. I designed some gardens at the place that I used to live, and many of these paintings were inspired by the little areas that I had in my garden. So this is an example of
that is cool.
A garden journal that
I
made from it. And then as an artist, I realized that I had quite a body of these flower paintings. I did these mostly in New Hampshire.
Right.
So I actually, in the end, have this brochure of
That's
all my
great.
flower paintings. So this is the segue really here,
Yes,
because my other class, and this took me, this is like a self-taught thing because I began trying to do this in 1995. It was that I realized I wanted to have a record of my paintings after I painted them, before they got sold or
because once they're sold, you may never see them again.
Whatever, exactly. I actually had lost two. I mean, I had sold 2 paintings to people who then moved away really quickly, and I realized I never had an image, and they were favorites.
And it was gone.
And it was gone. It was absolutely gone, and I didn't have their address to ask them to take a photo.
So it's very unlikely,
it became serious to have a record of each painting as I finished it. So I started with photography. Of course, I tried it myself, and if the light isn't even, it's not good. And then I had friends who were professional photographers, so I took my problem to them.
Right.
Now the problem there was this was on the edge of digital photography, and some of my friends were developing in dark rooms already.
Right.
And the colors, either way, digital or
not
as a photograph, were not satisfying to me in terms, I mean, I don't have to be exact right on, but I have to have the I have to have the contrast that I built up there, and I definitely want the colors to be the same shades that I used.
Because you picked them for a reason, and you want it to stay that way.
So it progressed, and I decided that I would scan my own paintings. Okay, so that's fine on paintings that are, 8 by 8 or something like that. And I got Photoshop, and I learned to adjust them in Photoshop. Okay, Photoshop, I was using it for just a bare minimum reason. And it was so complex that I spent about 6 months trying to learn what I wanted to do on my own. And I just finally threw up my hands. Another photographer friend of mine, who is kind of a techie, was giving a Photoshop class for photographers. And I said, I have a special need for this. And he said, don't worry, just come to my class and we'll address your needs as well.
Wow.
So I took that class, and that was a wonderful thing to do. So some of that knowledge I'm passing on in this class. Now this class, I know that the people who take this class, I've given it I think twice in the past, I know that they have things that they want to do. It might be that they're photographers. They probably know more about Photoshop than I do. Or it might be that they're artists, and there's various reasons for artists to do this. You might want to, there's that thing of recording what you've done. And by the way, I think I dropped the ball. I was saying, it was fine for smaller things like this. Well, with Photoshop, I learned that I could scan the larger ones in 4 pieces, knit them together, and so I could create a file the size of the original file.
That's an interesting.
And you would not know that it had been mechanical.
Having done a little bit of graphic work, I know how challenging that could be.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, what I do, you might want to have an inventory record of your paintings, or if you have an exhibit, or if you want to want to send some pictures of your work to a place that might want to exhibit your work, I found that I can produce nice little catalogs like this. You know, here's all the information they need to put the right label on the right.
Let me give you another reason that's helpful. We do regional artist project grants, and the artists are asked to send us images, digital images, and usually they're on a CD.
Yeah.
And I've got this random CD, and I've got a group of folks I'm showing all this to, and it's just there's an image.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
If they include that, what you just showed, in their packet, information packet, then your panel can sit there and go, oh, that's so-and-so.
Exactly. You've got all the information. It's not in a file name or something like that.
Right. And then they know that they can look and go back and look at it and say, oh, I remember this artist. They're the ones that did this and this and this. And it makes sense to, for the panel.
Yeah.
So for you that are applying for grants, this is tremendously helpful to get this information.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be putting a little bug in some ears.
Okay. And they can come learn how to do it. Okay, so I make my business cards from my paintings. I can just adjust, I make cards.
Greeting cards.
Okay, so this was a set of cards. I did a boathouse series. I painted 25 boathouses of neat old-fashioned things on Lake Sunapee in New Hampshire. Well, I could not only package them in smaller groups, but I could put a label on the back of them that showed which cards were in that package.
We have packages of gift cards in our gift shop that artists have done. And when someone asks, we have to open the package so they can see the images. So they need that.
Yeah. And this is once you've got your copy, and I tell how to resize it for various purposes. You've got a gold mine of things you can do with it. I guess I should mention that this was one of my Christmas cards. I've done a Christmas card from Prince every year. And then I do commissions for people. This was for this beautiful scene.
Oh, nice.
Was for by a bridesmaid for a couple who got married in the early evening in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I did she commissioned the painting for the couple. But I also always include a few note cards in the package to the person who commissioned it, because they're very involved in the whole process.
And they can remember it that way.
Yes,
That's
right.
wonderful.
Now, the last one I did, I sent, the woman was retiring and 6 of her office mates had purchased it for her. So I made her 8 note cards, 2 for herself, but 6 so she could use them as thank you cards.
That's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
It was. It's just fun. Once you have the ability to do this, there's all kinds of possibilities.
Now, for that class, do they bring anything with them, material-wise or equipment-wise?
No. What I do is I take a couple of my paintings and scan it. We start from step 1. We scan it, we adjust it for the color coordination with the actual painting itself. We save it in various formats, one like master copy. Then we go into resizing for, say you wanted to enter an exhibit. These days you don't do slides anymore. You
That's true.
Attach a digital file. So we go into that. We go into sizing it for printing. And it's really, the thing about Photoshop is it's so complex, but once you narrow it down to just the things an artist wants to be able to do with it, it simplifies the whole thing.
It makes it work.
Yeah.
So you can, you're not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. Now, these workshops are coming up very quickly.
Yeah.
The painting in flowers and watercolor is starting, there's one on Thursday.
Right.
It begins on Thursday, and one that begins on Saturday.
That's right.
And then the digital photography, and forgive me, I forgot when they start, do you know?
And the 10th of February,
Right.
there's one on the 10th, and there's one later on in the month. Those are on Tuesdays.
Right.
I forget the last date, but
And I want to tell people how to register for them, because
Yeah.
that's so easy to do now. There's a company called Equid, and Equid has donated to us the capacity to be able to create an online store. And oh, it's so much easier than it used to be, because you just simply can go online and you can shop. You can browse through the workshops. You can look at photographs of the things, like for JoAnn's, for example, some of her paintings are there, a picture of you, a description of the class, a description of what she herself has been doing. And then you can sign up right there online. You can pay through PayPal. You can pay through using your credit card. If you don't want to use PayPal, there's still a secure way to do that. Or optionally, of course, you can come into the art space, and we'll be more than happy to sign you up for a class. But I encourage you to go to the online store. It's on our website. It's also on our Facebook page. It's one of the tabs right in the center that you just see the words online store. Click on it, and you'll see spring workshops. Click on that. And I do need to say that the digital, making digital images from your paintings is both in our spring workshop series, but it's also considered part of our Business of the Art series, which is a series of workshops that are aimed at artists to help them perfect their skills and learn more about what they're doing, and to enable them to succeed.
yeah, there's a couple I'm going to take.
They are great.
Yeah.
And you know, several of them, if you're a member of the Arts Council, you can go for just basically a song. I mean, it's such a small amount.
Great.
You know, all you got to do is just be a current member of the Arts Council. So I encourage artists to check those out. We've got, I think, 8 in this series this time. And we'll be doing many, many more of those. That's something I really want to keep doing. I want to keep doing it all. But anyway, go to our website, check all these out, sign up for the classes, give us a call if you just feel like you can't handle the website or you don't have web access, or come by the Blue Ridge Art Space. And we're located at 377 Shuttle Line Drive, the building with the blue people on the front. And we're also our phone number is 264-1789. Again, check our website for information about these and so much more.
Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.